They told you to never stop being kind, but they never warned you. Kindness can break you too. You gave love until it hurt. You forgave until your heart forgot how to feel. And somewhere between helping others and losing yourself, you started to wonder, when did mercy become a prison? But what if kindness was never the problem? What if it was how you were taught to give it? Sufism whispers a forgotten truth. Kindness is holy, but only when guided by wisdom, because even light, when placed in the wrong hands, can be used to burn. So this is not about losing your softness. It's about learning how to protect it, because true kindness doesn't destroy you to prove itself. It roots you deeper in Allah's mercy and teaches you how to love without losing yourself. People will use your kindness until there's nothing left of you. They'll smile when you give and disappear when you need. They'll drink from your light, then curse you when you shine brighter than them. You thought being kind would make them stay, didn't you? But Ibn Arabi said, "The ignorant see mercy as weakness, and the wise see it as balance." Because mercy without wisdom destroys you from the inside. Not everyone deserves your softness. Some people only come to steal it. They wrap their selfishness in words like "you sept changed," "you sept you're cold," or "you sept you're not the same." But they were never there for your truth, only for your warmth. And when you stopped feeding them with your light, they called you cruel. The truth is, you were never cruel. You just stopped bleeding for those who never cared if you lived. Ibn Arabi warned the seeker, do not lose your soul trying to heal those who love their wounds. There is a time to give, and a time to protect what you've given. Because when kindness is thrown into ungrateful hands, it becomes a weapon against you. So don't be afraid to step back. Sometimes walking away is not pride, it's protection. Your heart is a mirror. It reflects love. But even mirrors can break when handled by the wrong hands. You've been told all your life, be kind to everyone. But Sufism whispers something deeper, be kind with wisdom. Even the Prophet, peace be upon him, the most merciful soul, drew clear lines of justice. Mercy without wisdom is like rain that floods instead of nourishes. There are people who don't want your kindness. They want your energy. They come as victims, but they stay as thieves. They'll drain your patience, twist your words, and still blame you for their emptiness. Ibn Arabi said, when the heart gives without remembrance of Allah, it becomes a slave to the receiver. So when you give for Allah, not for approval, not for peace, not for love, because people forget, but Allah never does. And remember, love without boundaries isn't love, it's self-erasure. When your heart becomes a doormat, your soul becomes a silent scream. Even love has borders. True compassion knows when to say no. Doniset confused silence with sainthood. Even a saint must close his door to the storm. So protect your mercy. You can heal a world that doesn't want to be healed. But you can protect the heart that Allah gave you. There's a dark side to being too good. The world praises your softness while secretly testing its limits. You start saying yes when your soul screams no, just to keep the peace. You let disrespect slide, call it patience, and swallow pain in the name of goodness. But Ibn Arabi warned, patience with falsehood is not virtue. It is surrender to illusion. You are not meant to be endlessly consumed by others' chaos. Goodness was never meant to destroy the one who carries it. Every time you give without reflection, a part of you disappears into those who never valued it. And soon you're left asking, who am I without my giving? That's when you realize kindness, without purpose, becomes a trap. It becomes a cycle of quiet suffering disguised as love. The Sufi path is not about endless tolerance. It's about enlightened boundaries. Allah does not want you broken in the name of mercy. He wants you balanced in the name of truth. So next time you feel guilt for saying no, remember, even the ocean has shores. You were not created to drown in everyone's storms. Kindness is sacred only when it doesn't destroy the soul that gives it. There comes a moment in every seeker-sip's journey when the heart begins to question. Why does my kindness bring me pain? You give love, yet receive betrayal. You forgive, yet they wound you again. And you start to wonder, is kindness even worth it? That's Seps, when Ibn Arabi, Seps' wisdom strikes like light in darkness. Kindness is divine only when it follows the order of truth. Because in the eyes of Allah, mercy and justice are never enemies. They are two wings of the same bird. One lifts the world with compassion. The other keeps it balanced through boundaries. To be spiritual is not to let people walk all over you. It's to know when mercy ends and when wisdom must begin. Even the Prophet, peace be upon him, the embodiment of mercy, was never blind in his compassion. He forgave, but he also held people accountable. He smiled, but he also spoke the truth, even when it hurt. That is the divine balance. Mercy that heals, not mercy that heals, not mercy that hides from truth. The modern heart mistakes spirituality for softness, as if the more you endure, the more holy you become. But Sufism teaches otherwise. True spirituality is strength disguised as stillness. It's Seps knowing how to love without losing yourself. It's being able to say no, not from anger, but from clarity. Because Allah Seps' love itself is balanced. He is Ar-Rahman, the most merciful, but also Al-Dil, the just. And if you wish to walk in His light, you must reflect both. Ibn Arabi said, "The perfected human mirrors both the beauty and the majesty of God." Meaning, your mercy should never exist without your dignity. Your kindness should never silence your truth. Your love should never chain you to people who despise the light within you. When you practice kindness with no boundaries, you end up worshiping human approval instead of divine truth. And that is the moment your soul begins to decay. Allah never asked you to be kind to the point of breaking. He asked you to be just, even in kindness. Because when mercy loses its balance, it becomes injustice, both to yourself and to others. So learn the sacred art of balance. Forgive, but remember. Help, but discern. Love, but protect your soul. Sometimes walking away from someone is not cruelty. It steps mercy in disguise. Because what they need is not your presence, but the silence that forces them to face themselves. Ibn Arabi called this the mercy of distance. It's the wisdom of knowing that some relationships only grow when space enters between hearts. That Seps how Allah teaches both souls, one through loss, the other through peace. To walk the path of truth is not to please everyone. It Seps to please the one who sees your intentions, who knows the war inside your chest when you say no, and who rewards the heart that protects its purity, even in pain. The Sufi doesn't chase people. He chases alignment. He doesn't seek to be liked. He seeks to be real, even if that means walking alone. Because in solitude, the soul rediscovers its center. And in that silence, it hears Allah whisper, "Mercy is mine. Justice is mine. Balance is the path of the wise." So don't let the world shame you for protecting your peace. You are not cold, you are aligned. You are not distant, you are discerning. And the one who learns to balance mercy with wisdom walks closest to the divine. Every soul that walks the path of light faces this quiet destruction, the destruction of trying to please everyone. At first, it feels noble. You tell yourself you're being kind, patient, understanding. You silence your truth to keep the peace. You agree when your heart disagrees. You bend until your soul starts to ache. And still, they call you selfish when you finally say, enough. But Ibn Arabi warned, the one who fears people cannot witness the truth. Because when your heart begins to revolve around people's opinions, you stop orbiting around Allah, and what is left of a seeker who loses his center? You begin to live in fragments, one face for them, one for yourself, and none left for the one who created you. You start measuring your worth through their eyes, through likes, approval, praise, and validation, and soon your light becomes currency. You start trading your peace just to be accepted. You say, I'm fine, when you're breaking inside. You laugh, even when your soul feels hollow. You hide your pain behind smiles, because you've been taught that being good means being silent. But silence, when truth is dying inside you, is not goodness, it's slow spiritual death. Ibn Arabi said, he who knows himself knows his Lord. But how can you know yourself when you keep burying it beneath other people's expectations? How can you meet Allah within when you're too busy chasing the approval of those who don't even pray for you? There sits a hidden slavery in people-pleasing. You become chained to their moods, their opinions, their needs. You move when they move. You dim your light when they frown. And every time you silence your truth to protect their comfort, you betray the soul Allah entrusted you with. That betrayal has a cost, a quiet emptiness that no praise can fill. You start losing joy in your worship. Your prayers feel heavy. Your dhikr feels distant, because your soul is exhausted from pretending to be someone it's not. Ibn Arabi once wrote that to live in truth is to live facing the divine mirror, not the mirrors of men. That means your worth was never meant to be reflected by others. It was meant to shine directly from Allah's gaze upon your heart. But the world doesn't want truth, it wants comfort. And when you begin to awaken, your light threatens those still asleep. They will call you arrogant for setting boundaries. They will call you cruel for walking away. They will say you've changed, because they can no longer control you with guilt. Yet, Allah separates you from them for a reason. Sometimes His mercy looks like loneliness. Sometimes His protection feels like rejection. But He steps not punishing you. He steps rescuing you. He's pulling you away from people who would dim your faith just to feed their ego. Because Allah knows the soul that tries to please everyone pleases no one, not even Him. There is beauty in being misunderstood for the sake of truth. There is strength in being alone when your heart stands with Allah. That steps the moment your real journey begins. When you stop living for the crowd and start living for the caller. Every Sufi learns this lesson through heartbreak. You feel isolated. You still question yourself. You still cry to Allah asking, why did you make me different? And the answer comes in silence. Because difference is your destiny. You were never meant to fit in with those who mock your light. You were meant to guide, to reflect, to awaken, even if it cost you everyone's approval. Pleasing people is an addiction. It gives short-term peace, but long-term emptiness. It promises love, but delivers loneliness. And the cure begins when you finally say, I choose truth, even if it makes me stand alone. That's when Allah fills your solitude with His presence. That's steps when silence becomes sacred. That's when you begin to breathe again, not for others, but for Him. So stop breaking yourself to keep others whole. Stop apologizing for your light. Stop watering dead plants and calling it loyalty. You owe your peace to the one who gave you breath, not to those who suffocate it. Ibn Arabi said, "The lover of God finds peace only in what pleases God." Let that be your compass. Because once you stop chasing their approval, you start hearing his approval in your heart, a still, gentle peace that whispers, "Now you are free." So don't fear being alone on the path of truth. The crowd may reject you, but the Creator walks beside you. You may lose people, but you still find yourself. And in finding yourself, you find Allah. That is the price of pleasing everyone, and the reward of finally pleasing the One. There is a kind of anger that destroys you, and a kind that saves you. Most people only know the first one, the fire that burns everything it touches. But the seekers of truth, the lovers of Allah, learn of another fire, the sacred anger. The flame that protects the soul from being consumed by the world. All your life you were told, anger is bad, stay calm, endure. So you swallowed every insult, every betrayal, every act of disrespect, until your chest became a quiet battlefield. You called it patience. You said Allah will handle it, but deep inside, your heart was bleeding silently, and that silence began to harden into bitterness. Ibn Arabi taught that every emotion was created with divine purpose, even anger. He said, "When anger rises for the sake of truth, it is light in disguise." Because not all calmness is virtue, and not all anger is sin. The difference lies in intention. One seeks revenge, the other seeks restoration. The Prophet, peace be upon him, showed this balance better than anyone. He never let anger rule his ego, but he also never allowed injustice to rule the earth. When the weak were humiliated, he spoke. When truth was mocked, he stood. That was sacred anger. Anger guided by mercy, not by ego. Sacred anger is when your soul finally says, "I will no longer allow disrespect to wear the mask of peace." It's when you stop confusing weakness with forgiveness. It sets the moment you realize that protecting your dignity is also a form of gratitude to the one who gave it. Ibn Arabi said, "Every heart is a sanctuary. Not all are worthy to enter." If your heart is a sanctuary, then sacred anger is its guardian. It is the moment you stop letting every passerby trample your sacred space. It is the courage to draw the line where self-betrayal begins. Sometimes mercy is distance. Sometimes kindness is silence. Sometimes the most compassionate thing you can do is walk away before love turns into resentment. The Sufis call this the mercy of distance. It is not arrogance, it is alignment. When Allah shows you who cannot honor your peace, He is not removing people, He is removing poison. But beware, anger without remembrance becomes darkness. So when the fire rises, turn it toward prayer. Say, "Ya Allah, show me how to defend truth without wounding hearts. Transform your pain into clarity, your rage into resolve. Let your anger polish you, not poison you." The sacred anger teaches boundaries without cruelty. It lets you say no with love still in your eyes. It gives you the strength to protect your peace while wishing good for the one who tried to shatter it. That is divine maturity, the heart that fights for truth without losing its tenderness. Understand this. Not reacting does not always mean peace. Sometimes silence is complicity. Sometimes calmness is cowardice. Even a Sufi draws the sword of silence only when words would feed chaos. But when truth demands voice, silence becomes betrayal. The goal is not to be emotionless. It is to be God-directed in every emotion you feel. So when they test your patience, when injustice mocks your calm. Don't explode blindly, but don't collapse either. Stand like the mountain that bows only to Allah. Let your face remain gentle, but your stance unshakable. Let your heart be soft, but your spine made of faith. There will come a day when your sacred anger will save you from manipulators who twist your kindness, from people who call your boundaries pride, from voices that shame you for choosing peace over pleasing. That day you will understand what Ibn Arabi meant when he said, "The lion sip's roar is also a form of dhikr," because even in strength, the seeker remembers his Lord. Sacred anger is not about shouting or fighting. It seps about awakening. It sups the moment you realize your worth in the eyes of Allah and refuse to let anyone reduce it. It's the realization that your soul was created to bow to none but Him. So let the fire inside you burn away weakness, not people. Let it refine you, not define you. Let it push you back to the source, not deeper into ego. That is how the Sufi transforms pain into power, by returning every emotion to its divine root. And when the world wonders why you became quieter, stronger, harder to access, smile gently. They will call it anger, but you will know it is sacred protection. It is divine alignment. It is the part of you that finally learned that peace is not found in pleasing everyone, but in guarding the soul that pleases Allah. You've walked through fire. You've learned how people can turn your kindness into chains. You've felt the sting of giving too much, the ache of being misunderstood, the loneliness of walking away. And somewhere in the middle of it all, you began to ask yourself, if kindness hurts this much, is it still worth it? Yes, but not the way you once believed. You see, the problem was never kindness. It was misplaced kindness. Kindness without guidance. The kind that bends truth to please others. The kind that forgives without discernment. The kind that burns its own light to keep everyone else warm. That is not divine kindness. That is self-erasure. Ibn Arabi wrote that every quality of the soul has a divine origin, but when separated from wisdom, it becomes corruption. Mercy without wisdom becomes weakness. Generosity without discernment becomes waste. And kindness without boundaries becomes self-betrayal. The seeker's task is not to stop being kind. It's to return kindness to its rightful owner, Allah. When you act kindly for His sake alone, no one can use it against you, because your intention is no longer tied to the reaction of people. It's anchored in the gaze of the divine. True kindness doesn't mean letting everyone in. It means opening your heart only where love can grow. It means knowing that every soul is a garden, but not every visitor is a gardener. Some come to plant flowers. Others come to uproot them. Wisdom is knowing who deserves your soil. Ibn Arabi called this the adab of love. ADB, the sacred etiquette of the heart, is knowing that kindness must serve truth, not illusion. To be kind is to mirror the divine, to show mercy where there is sincerity, and distance where there is deceit. To speak truth, even when it trembles on your tongue. To forgive, not because they deserve it, but because you refuse to carry the poison any longer. True kindness is strength wrapped in gentleness. It sets the smile that hides no resentment. It's the no spoken with peace instead of anger. It's the silence that comes not from fear, but from wisdom. It's the hand that gives without expecting applause. You don't owe your light to everyone. Some people are sent only to teach you where not to shine. Others are sent to remind you what love should never feel like. So don't hate them. Thank them. They were the lessons that brought you back to balance. They showed you the edges of your mercy so you could learn to protect it. The Prophet, peace be upon him, showed the world what perfect kindness looks like. Forgiving, yet firm, gentle, yet powerful. He never allowed his compassion to turn into weakness, nor his justice into cruelty. He was mercy guided by truth. And that is what the path of the Sufi demands, to reflect both Allah's mercy and his majesty. Kindness that ignores truth is not holy, it's hollow. But kindness rooted in remembrance becomes worship. It heals the giver as much as it blesses the receiver. Because every act done for Allah carries His light within it. That is why true kindness never leaves you empty. It fills you with peace, even when it costs you the world. So let the world call you cold. Let them say Youssef changed. Let them whisper that your heart has hardened, because you know the truth. Your heart hasn't set hardened, it sets healed. It no longer leaks love into places that reject it. It no longer mistakes attachment for compassion. It no longer fears walking alone, because it walks with Allah. The Sufi returns to kindness, not as a victim, but as a guardian. He knows now that kindness is sacred currency, to be spent only where it multiplies goodness. He learns that silence can be an act of mercy, and distance can be the most loving choice. He learns that not everyone deserves his softness, because softness is a reflection of divine trust, not a tool for self-destruction. Ibn Arabi said, "The heart that knows Allah sees through every illusion of love." That means once you have tasted real divine love, you no longer beg for scraps of affection from the ungrateful. You love people for Allah, not instead of Him. You forgive without forgetting the lesson. You serve without becoming a slave. And you walk away when staying means betraying your peace. True kindness is not a performance, it's alignment. It's the state of being at peace with yourself, with creation, and with the Creator. It's knowing that your mercy is not infinite, but Allah's is. So when you can't give anymore, let Him give through you. When you can't forgive anymore, ask Him to purify your heart. When you can carry others, let Him carry you. That is the final lesson of the seeker. After all the heartbreaks, the loneliness, the lessons, you don't stop being kind. You just become wiser with your love. And that wisdom becomes your protection, your peace, your prayer. So when the world asks why you're no longer endlessly available, why you no longer chase, beg, or overgive, just smile and say, I finally learned the difference between kindness and surrender, because real kindness doesn't destroy you to prove itself. It nourishes you while it blesses others. It flows from the heart that has found its balance. A heart that gives not to be loved, but because it is love, sustained by the one who never stops giving. And that is the return to true kindness. The final awakening of the soul that has learned to love, not foolishly, but divinely. So now you understand. You were never meant to stop being kind. You were meant to remember why you are kind. Kindness is not weakness. It's strength under control. It sits mercy guided by remembrance. It's love that knows its source is not people, but Allah. When you give from ego, your heart empties. When you give from Allah, your heart overflows. That's why some people drain you, because you were pouring from a cup you didn't refill. But when you root your heart in the divine, your kindness becomes light, not loss. You can walk away in peace. You can forgive without returning. You can love without being destroyed by it. Ibn Arabi said, "The perfected one gives for Allah, not for need, nor for praise." So let your giving become worship. Let your silence become prayer. Let your boundaries become devotion, because true kindness is not found in how much you give to others, It's found in how faithfully you protect the gift Allah placed inside you. So, be kind, but be wise. Be soft, but be strong. And when they ask why you no longer give as freely as before, just smile and say, I still give, but now I give for Allah. Then walk away with your heart intact, your soul in peace, and your light untouched, unstoppable, and protected by the one who gave it.